Hey, what's going on, guys? Dbt09 here. Today we are back to cover a deck that surprisingly I was able to get my hands on. Today is Unica. Woof woof. So today we're gonna cover Unica set 9. At the moment of this recording, yeah, we just announced the set 10 stuff. There's gonna be, the masks, and she's gonna be a candidate and whatnot. So I may do a video on that. So let's see whether I can or not. Today we are covering Unica. Unica is a deck from set 9, featured around Sophie Belle, who is very hot. Please, I want her to crush me. And basically the whole point of this deck is to play it as a tempo deck, because Unica has a very good grind game. I want her to grind me, and then we also have a lot of fun, interesting tools from the Transrotter era and whatnot. They kind of just made Transrotter a woman, which is funny, so yeah, let's break it down real quick. This is our right deck. It's the exact same right deck that Sophie Belle uses. We don't want to disrespect her, but more rather than not, it's because they have good synergy as well. So for the Grade 0, we play this is Pipis equals to Mulchi. I don't know what either of those words mean. I frankly am not going to break that down. It's just a starter. You can play anything you want. Just play Chaos. Just play Chaos. Next, we have Schwartz equals Son of Sparta. What does it do? When this unit is rolled upon by Almajestar, Tyrion equals Dinah. Then basically you soul charge 2. If a critical trigger is among the cards you soul charge, you get to draw. Yeah, that's nice. But you don't always get the draw, but I mean soul charge 2 is nice no matter where you go. The second skill is a bit more relevant when you read the later parts of the right deck. If your opponent's Vanguard is greater or greater, you bind a trigger from your soul and she gains 10. This makes Son of Sparta here 18k booster and an 18k beater, which is nice. It's not the best skill in the world. You don't really want to be binding triggers by her. In fact, frankly, she's the worst card to be using for the bind skill, but it's nice, especially later on set 10. It gets even more relevant, so do watch out for her. Next, we have Tyrion equals to Dinah. This is clearly a reference to the hit TV show Ultraman Decker. I'm kidding. So basically what it does is when you write a card with Astroea on top of her, you can choose one of herself and one of Schwartz, and then you superior call them from the soul. So you basically have Alfred early, but it's a +2 engine. That is quite devastating. You get a whole on column, and we just described to you that this could be an 18k booster, but no matter where you go, that's instantly a free 18k column. You don't even have to call it to the same column. You can just call them anywhere, but frankly you would always call them the same column because why wouldn't you? And there you go. Or if you just want to play early aggro, you can just call Sparta out, and now you have a full field of 3 attackers. And they're still not done yet because there are more skills. When on rearguard circle, you basically, if you have an Almajestar Vanguard, which you will, this is Almajestar deck, you counterblast 1, choose 2 triggers with a drop, put them in the soul and it gains 5. Transrotter just gave me a phone call the other day and he's very unhappy. This card is virtually very insane. It sets up very well. I don't have to explain to you. Once you reach Unica, you kind of understand that 2 triggers in the soul basically sets up half the effect already. And you don't even need to actually soul blast triggers. You're just soul blasting them because of Unica's second skill. So you can actually use this on your heals as well as your draws and whatnot. The non-critical trigger cards, and actually loop them over and over so that you can actually stall your opponent with high numbers for 3 attacks. That's basically the state of Unica right now. It is a 3 attack deck with high numbers. It's kind of like MLB because of your passive crit, drive, and retire. But it's not even as bad as MLB because the crit, retire, and drive all come relatively easily as long as you hit a condition. So yeah, I would say it's pretty good at this point in time. And in set 10, you will receive even more support in the form of the cross-ride for the Mask's form, which gives you an extra attack. So it's just good to keep this all in mind. The only downside with Unica is really the price point, and you have to compete with every testosterone-filled male on the planet. A last card is, of course, going to be Astroea equals Unica. I'm guessing Astroea is a name, judging by the cross-ride, and Unica is a title that's very unique to her. So when the trigger is Soul Blast for the cost of this unit's abilities, choose one of your units against 5. Includes the Vanguard. So if you just Soul Blast straight up 3 triggers right away, that's 15k power you can spread across the board. Pretty good for something that you're doing for free, right? Second skill is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, Soul Blast 3, bind all critical triggers involved in this cost, and then you get effects equal to the number of critical triggers in the bind zone. Thunderstrike 1 critical trigger, you choose one of your opponent's Vanguards to retire it. 2 or more, critical +1, 3 or more, drive +1. It's easy yet difficult to achieve this skill because it specifically needs critical triggers. There are 8 critical triggers in your deck, so you have to be able to play around it and maximize its effect as soon as possible. I know what some people are saying when this card was first revealed. Oh, if you Soul Blast the critical triggers from your soul, that means you have less critical triggers in your deck, which means you have less opportunity to kill them. Yeah, but you trade off for a +1 drive and a +1 critical and a retire one, which is an innate +2 if you think about it, and a crit. And then you still have the little Soul Saver skill, which is mad. For something that has so little cost written on it in terms of Counter Blast or Soul Blast, I really don't see how you can complain. Even the Soul Blast tree, which could seem steep at one hand, as you will go through the rest of the deck, you realize it's virtually nothing. So do keep in mind, also in next set, we are receiving Twin Marvel, who is one of the most broken Dark State staples you will ever read in a card. So I just want you guys to keep this in mind when reading it. It's not about Unica now, it's about Unica coming. It's not about Sophie Belle, it's about me coming. So let's move on to the rest of the deck. Our grade 3s, we obviously play a very simple 3 Unica and then just one in the main deck. I really don't think I need to explain this. It's just a simple tempo deck. Persona Right is great. As you move on, next set we're gonna get the cross right in the form of Baiko, Baiko masks thing. Yep, so you will end up cutting this. So if you paid 2,500 yen for this, I just wanted to know, I'm sorry, but Sophie Belle is very proud of you. Another thing you also do want to note is some people may straight up choose to not even play Unica in the main deck because they want to focus more on the early aggression. They want to play more aggressive pieces or more setup pieces. I think that's fine as well, but just do keep in mind you're trading off the potential turn 4 kill with plus 30k in net total power. So really, you have to assess it based on your own meta. If you're worried about Chrono Jet, if you're worried about Messiah, which are very viable threats, you may not want to focus more on dragging the game longer with a Persona Right. You may just want to do some grade 2 gaming with Dark Stage, which is possible in this deck, and then go into Unica for a little bit of a free burst. Or you may just want to just, not play Unica entirely and just play V because you don't have to deal with Crescent V. Moving on to our grade 2s. Our grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Kit's Peak Griffin. It seems today. And then we play 4 copies of Tyrann Diner. I told you Tyrann Diner is a good card. And then we play 4 copies of Steady Spiky. So, yeah, the list really builds itself in the sense that, as you can see, a lot of it is just straight out of the box for Unica support, and then the last one is just from Transwater. So, as I mentioned before, Tyrann equals Diner. I said its skill just now. The main skill you're more concerned about here is the Counterblast skill to move 2 cards with triggers into your soul, and then this unit gains 5. So, yeah, no matter how you do it, it's just pretty nice. Just having more copies of it accessible so you can tap into this skill is the best option in my opinion. But some people are not a fan of playing so much Tyrann equals Diner, so just, you might want to note that this is an option you could switch. In terms of cards you do not switch, that's going to be Kit's Peak. So what does Peter Griffin do? His skill is very simple. He has 2 skills basically. When placed on a rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard of Almajestar, choose 2 trigger units from your drop and put it into your soul. For on place, you can do the Tyrann equals Diner effect for free. So you are starting to see why this is a double, right? Tyrann equals the Diner is a really good card because you can do it over and over again as the turns progress. But this is just on place and it's still nice to see. Next, it is a defensive skill as well. If you have a critical trigger in your bind zone, this unit gains 5,000 power and 5,000 shield, which means passively Kit's Peak is a 15k attacker and a 10k shield. As the game drags longer and longer, you're going to want the 10k shield, not 15, 10k shield. And the 15k attacker, it's nice. Although the issue is that you don't really use this skill on turn 2 or lower. So one way you can counter this is if you play more copies of Mr. Spada here, you can bind the critical trigger straight away. But then again, that's only if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, so you can't even do that. So this is strictly a grade 3 or greater skill. So Kit's Peak is something you hold on to your hand more rather than not, and then you actually play on from there. But if you don't even want to call this guy to rearguard, that's fine. You can just keep it in your hand as shield. After all, Chrono Jet, Tempest, Eva all just targets the front row, so hey, protect him. It's Peter Griffin. Lastly, we have a surprising return from Transwater. It's Steady Spiky. Steady Spiky, when placed on a rearguard circle from your hand, Counter Blast 1. Then after that, you put a grade 0 card from your hand to the soul, and you add a grade 1 card from your soul and put in your hand. Hey, that's pretty nice, but what do you want a toolbox from your soul that's grade 1? Well, you will see it in our grade 1 segment. For our grade 1 segment, we have a lot of cards in this segment. As I mentioned before, Twin Marvel is also coming next set, so that is something you do want to keep in mind. But in terms of what we have right now, we have one copy of, Schwartz equals Sparta from the right deck, 4 perfect guards, 4 copies of Salgon, 4 copies of this is Iram, and then 4 copies of another returning veteran. It is, of course, Inhale Pit. So let's get this over with really quickly. So we play Sparta, 1 copy for the right deck. I mentioned it before that she's not very good in terms of a rear guard, so you really rarely use this skill. Even if she's retired, there's no love lost, it's fine. She's not a son of Sparta, she's a daughter of Sparta. Then we have 4 copies of our perfect guards. I don't need to explain this to you, right? I really don't think I should. So yeah, I'm not going to. Next up, we have Inhale Pit, another veteran from Transrotter. You Soul Blast a Grade 1 or higher card, and then you choose 2 Grade 0 cards from your drop zone and put it into your soul. Again, another great way to refill your soul with your triggers, specifically the cards that you call and then you discard and whatnot. So you can just throw them into the soul, and then hey, it works really well. It's a passive, it's a rear guard. You can throw this relatively early, and it's still nice to have on the board in terms of early aggression, numbers, and everything. It's just good about this card. If you want to talk about cards that can drop on early, we have other cards such as Salgon. Really, when Bushido printed this, they told every Falcate player, Salgon these nuts, because realistically, your money is never coming back. Salgon has a very good skill, as I've covered in my Chaos deck profile. Please check it out if you haven't. Her skill is when this unit boosts, choose one of the units this unit is boosting. Until the end of the turn, it gets a red text skill. It gets auto, Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. When this unit attack hits, choose 2 cards from your drop and put it into your soul. Now this doesn't count for grade 0s, this is for anything. So you could straight up just tame your perfect guards into your soul and then loop it with Steady Spiky. You see the interaction? The only issue is that it does have to hit the Vanguard, so that is one thing you do need to keep in mind. But then again, you're never attacking rears in this deck. This is not the Dragon Tree. So yeah, it is pretty good. It is not as great as Falcate, I know, but this is a card you can put in for now in set 9. This is something I'm definitely looking to replace with Twin Marvel. And then last but not least, we have Iram. Iram, when this unit boosts, if you Vanguard with Almajestar, choose 1 trigger unit from your hand or drop and put it into your soul. If you choose from hand, you get to draw a card. So it is pretty nice in the sense that you cycle your hand out of cards you don't want. I don't know why you're cycling triggers, but maybe you want to fulfill the quota faster for your Soul Blast 3 triggers for the plus 15k, which is the correct way to do it. But it's also a viable option to just scoop out triggers from your drop and put it into your soul. Now, one more thing you do want to keep in mind is that it does work if your Vanguard even is grade 2 or lower. So yeah. Last but very not least, we are going to go into our triggers. Our triggers, we play 1 over trigger. We play 8 crits, including 4 of the effect crits. It is very important that you actually play this because you need to start your crits in the soul, right? And then we play 3 draws, and then after that we play 4 heals. 4 basic heals is fine because you kind of just want average heal all around. The over trigger is Galmagiate because you can just play Galmagiate. But if you don't want to play Galmagiate, it's fine. Either over trigger works. And that wraps up the Unica Astroea deck profile. Yeah, I must say I'm really grateful that I had the chance to cover this deck because I don't actually own this deck. This is the deck I managed to borrow to cover, and I'm really grateful because I really like Sophie Belle. This deck overall is not a meta deck. This is not something you will see topping, not at all. But it is a very fun, grindy deck, and this is what Majesty Lord Blaster should have been. But he still should have been male, by the way. So thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deck profile, please leave a like and comment. I hope to be able to cover set 10 Unica. I know it's something I've been alluding to, but I don't know if I can cover it. So if you guys like and subscribe, I can hopefully ask the player I managed to board for my locals if he would be so kind to lend it back to me. Although I must admit, I need to clean the card sleeves before I return it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.